Okay, our next presenter is Malachi and Ashley Williams. Malachi and Ashley have been working for the youth for 7 years. After working 7 years with the youth, God called them to birth an abstinence advocacy program called Radical for Love, Hyped for Their Weight. And it's an outreach program that targets middle school, high school, college, and young adults. Their passion for ministry has grown with the knowledge of today's need for acceptance and placement. They pray that God continues to use them to encourage the youth to see their great destiny in life. Please welcome Malachi and Ashley Williams.
Hello. 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 I had this awesome speech prepared. It had a nice video. It was like real nice and everything, but unfortunately we can't play it, so I'm gonna try to start here. Um, I'm Malachi Williams. We brought our son here tonight, and he's kind of sleepy, so my wife is down there tonight. And but that's Ashley. Can you please wave? That's my wife, Ashley Williams. Um, I thank God for allowing us the opportunity. I thank God for allowing us the opportunity to actually speak before you. This is something that we did not expect. Radical for Love, High for the Weight has actually only been in effect for about a year now. And we had a conference. We just had the conference in February, and it was a great success. And right after that, we're here now. So I thank God for the elevation and what he's doing right now and taking us from different locations and different demographics. So I truly appreciate Congo Justice for allowing us to be here, Miss Adia and Miss Darlene and Buntaro. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'll start here first. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return to the Lord, and he will have compassion on him and to our God. For he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return without watering the earth, and making it bear and sprout, and furnishing seed, and sower and bread to the eater, so will my word be which goes forth from my mouth. It will return to me empty, without accomplishing what I desire, and without succeeding in the matter for which I sent it. I started here in Isaiah 55, chapter 55, verse 6 through 11. The reason why I started here is because I believe there is so much confusion about forgiveness, second and third chances. What has been given to myself and my wife, Radical for Love, Hype for the Weight, is a revelation that I believe can create a revolution in today's families, schools, communities, homes, neighborhoods, as well as Congress. Right now you might be wondering how. I'll do my best to represent Radical for Love, Hype for the Weight, and show you how. We live in a time where the more separated you are, the better off you'll be. There is a false hope that plagues our youth today. That is, by separating yourself, you can build this great wall of protection from the elements of this world. Well, I'm here today to confront that idea and say boldly that that idea of separation is false. We believe that mistakes are going to happen. Unfortunately, we know that this is inevitable. No matter how hard you try, it's impossible not to make a mistake. So instead of us elaborating on the problems, let's capitalize on the solutions. Abstinence, for one, is more than just abstaining from sex. The actual definition of abstinence is the act of abstaining from anything that you might overindulge in. That includes food, television, and even sometimes Facebook. Abstinence from sex, however, is taking a stand to say, I'm going to live an abstinent life, and I'm going to set a standard for a nation. The norm right now is, hi, I'm Karen, I'm in the 8th grade, and I have had 3 partners up to this point in my life. What we are encouraging here at Radical for Love, Hype for the Weight is, hi, my name is Tom, I'm 26, waiting radically for my custom-designed wife, and will continue with all patience until God sends her. Or at least, as I like to use, this is my favorite, 15-year-old Tabitha.
Now I'll
Yeah.
look at one organization's hope.
This is my favorite quote. I'm sorry, am I echoing? Okay. Sorry about that. Little Tabitha, 15-year-old, this is her mantra. I want to be so lost in God that you would have to seek him in order to find me. If we can get our children on a path of purity, supporting them in their decisions to abstain, showing them how to take time to spend with God, showing them how to pray when things are easy and both complicated, teaching them early how much they are valued, not only in the sight of God, but also in your sight. Miss Annie, I appreciated what she said. This isn't part of my speech, but I feel like I have to express this. Just as she said, the lack of love, I know this is National Women's Day, but as a father, I just have to say this. When you impute love into your children early, they don't have to roam around looking for it elsewhere. They get it from you. They get it from the mother, the father. They get it from the neighborhood. I always use a quote, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, we have to build up that village in love. If they can find that love in the village, they'll stay in the village. But if they have to find it elsewhere, trust me, just like she said, she went to the ends of the earth trying to find it. If we can start early grooming our children into their identity, then they don't have to depend on some A-lister, some movie, some facade, who is still trying to figure their own identity out. We actually build them up in a way that generates and demands change, and the norm can and will be shifted in our favor. By doing this, we are giving the youth strength to stand against the elements versus running, and tools to help our youth fight against the traps versus bowing down and succumbing to them. In return, we'll see the family grow from the inside together instead of total separation and absolute division. Lead by example is what I've always heard for so many years. Unfortunately, the examples that I needed were out of my demographic. So I led by what I was led by. At this point, I know now my leading is and has to be led by God. Otherwise, I'll generate a generation of what I was, and we don't want that. So we're going to move on. Unfortunately, abstinence was not taught where I was from. And if it was taught, the conversation was kind of like this. I'm trying to remember how my mom said it. Hold on one second. Don't have sex because you will surely have kids and contract STDs. No one took the time really to explain the spiritual side of sleeping around and the many dangerous situations that you can find yourself in because of not wanting to wait, but having an itching, that burning desire to taste the forbidden fruit again. I didn't realize how much mental anguish came from premarital sex until 3 years into my marriage. At that time, God had begun to show me how there were spiritual and emotional things that I had contracted from partners that I wasn't even aware of. I needed to be delivered from these things. Thankfully, through forgiveness and repentance, God has shown me and my spouse, who waited until marriage, by the way, thank God. Yeah. God showed us a way out. He showed us a way out. And what he showed us was support. Support, to me, is a big, big, big word. And I'll try to explain it right now. What he showed us was support. Over 63% of our children that participated in our abstinence conference did not and had not, up to that conference, have or established a continual counseling with their parents about sex. Y'all get that? Okay, I'm going to say it in layman's terms because I didn't really want to do the speech thing anyway. Basically, the kids don't have conversations about sex in the house. Something that your children don't bring up. Basically, a child came up to me and said, Malachi, listen, I really want to tell you some things that my mom doesn't know about me, a 15-year-old little girl. And I said, well, go ahead and explain it to me. I know this is what I'm called for. I didn't take advantage of the situation. I actually prayed about it, and I prayed that God allowed me to just speak to her and speak life into her. And she explained to me, she said, you know, my mom thinks that I'm a virgin. She thinks that I don't kiss. She thinks that I don't hold hands. She thinks that I don't get fondled. And it's hard for me to come up to her and explain to her that I don't want to be like this, but he listens. And so I sat back and I examined that, and I said, well, God, what do you want to say about this? And at that moment, I really didn't have anything to say to her except listen and pray with her. So I listened and I prayed with her. But if I was the parent, I could have instilled something in my child right there at that moment instead of judging them. And maybe she would have went back to school the next day and just brushed the boys off and continued with her path of education. And so I'm going to leave that there, and we'll come back to it in a minute. So 63% of our children that participated in our conference, up until that conference, had not had continual conversations about sex with their parents. It's a taboo subject in the home. If we want to see a difference in our community, it will have to start inside the home. The sex topic must be raised as much as their future goals and their dreams are. Sex is all around the city, so there should be an open floor in the home to talk about this topic. It should not be a congested conversation. If it's not available, if the conversation will not be raised, then we leave our children to the media and the locals. And the locals will teach them. That includes the pimps, the prostitutes, and the homosexual influences. Believe it or not, we have learned that children are just as eager to talk about sex as they are to talk about everything else in life. Or you just really want the opportunity and the security of knowing that they are not going to be prejudged about the discussion. And leading by example, considering the economy and how the world is today versus how it was when I was coming up, is obviously totally different. To say the least, it's very, very hard. Throwing a few kids, single parents, not so great school or neighborhood, nor a relationship with God, that sounds like a recipe for disaster waiting to happen. Radical Love, Height for the Weight says otherwise. As a father, I'll start with me. If I drop the ball and begin to succumb to the elements, and begin to fall into depression and isolation, that will trickle down to my wife and my kids. The process of unraveling the braid begins. But let's say I face these trials head on and not waver, not succumb and get more involved, provoking the change, encouraging the conversation, and applying the conversation that I discussed with my children. Doing my best to try to find a solution, and not just for my family, but for the others as well. In return, my wife and kids will follow suit. We look at this as a perfect opportunity here at Radical for Love, Height for the Weight. We look at it as a perfect opportunity to really shine and produce a standard that needs to be seen, a family that can operate and function in a world that's dysfunctional. This is what myself and the nation need right now. We personally call this hope. What we begin to see is a generation asking what I can do for my community versus looking in all the wrong places trying to figure out what the community can do for me. I left my paper right there. I'm sorry. Okay. So, in closing, I'm so sorry. In closing, I want to say this because I haven't answered it. How does a person live like this in a world around them that's so frustrated? It's found, and I'll leave you with this, in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. I charge you parents, both father and mother, as well as siblings and also community. No matter where you are and what state of mind you're in, God is offering forgiveness in abundance. Receive it and become the majority. Set the standard and walk what you are, royalty. Live radical for love. Thank you.